Now, Democratic Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger of Virginia. She is a former CIA officer. Congresswoman, thanks for being here. It's good to see you. Let's talk first about those threats to the FBI, threats to the IRS now, other agencies that, frankly, some of your colleagues in the United States Congress have put in harm's way. We heard this man who was killed in Ohio who went to a field office in Cincinnati because of what he'd heard about the FBI searching Mar-a-Lago, that they were out to get the president and everything else. Have you talked to any of your colleagues about turning down some of the rhetoric, particularly some of it based in conspiracy theories?
Well, I wanted to first take a minute to reflect on that video, the number of law enforcement officers whose lives were in danger because one man was spun up in anger and hate, and the conspiracies that you mentioned. In my conversations with my colleagues, I've been very clear in the danger that exists when people are so willing to lean into lies, like the lie of 87,000 armed IRS agents. That is not real. That is not true. And yet we see members of Congress and people who want to head to Congress who are willing to call the FBI names, accuse them of being corrupt, all for political gain. In fact, in our race, my opponent sent out a fundraising email calling the FBI corrupt, calling them deep state. It is disrespectful, it is a lie, it is conspiratorial, and two things either exist. Either members of Congress and some who wish to go to the halls of Congress actually believe these lies themselves, or they are willing to put the lives of the men and women in law enforcement, it was FBI, it was local police, it was sheriffs, it was state police, in that video you just showed, by pushing these lies either to fund their campaigns or to curry favor with some voters. It's dangerous, and it has to stop.
Congresswoman Spanberger, we just spoke with Representative-elect Pat Ryan, who won a true swing district here in New York State. And he's on the ballot again, and he'll be running in November, as you are on the ballot in November. And he was talking about the significance in terms of voter energy having to do with the Supreme Court decision on Roe v. Wade. But also, he mentioned the fact that when he's out, what he hears a lot of people talking about are two elements: trust in government and the fact that democracy seems to be in peril. And I'm wondering, in your travels around your district, what do you hear on those two issues, if you hear anything at all about them? Absolutely.
And I heard the interview with Congressman-elect Ryan, and he's spot on. The deficit of trust, the cynicism that exists. I hear from voters challenges facing their lives, economic issues, health-related issues, a concern that maybe people just don't care, and the cynicism that lawmakers are not focused on their constituents, and a lack of trust that people on Capitol Hill or people in Richmond here in Virginia or at our Capitol or anywhere else, that they're just not focused on the needs of the people that they serve. And it's that deficit of trust that I think creates the fertile ground for conspiracies. It's the deficit of trust that creates fertile ground for people to turn against our system and against democracy. And there are multiple steps we can take. I'm leading the bipartisan effort to ban lawmakers from being able to buy or sell stocks, individual stocks. It seems like a simple thing. But when there is headline after headline about members of Congress who are making money on this stock or that stock related to the war or the pandemic or any other thing that we might be being briefed on, when I'm around my district, people say, oh, of course, people are in it for themselves. And so this legislation that we are moving forward and we want to vote on is about a tiny little step forward in affirming to voters, you can trust me because I'm in this work to support my constituents and not my stock portfolio. In any place where we can show up, where we can listen, where we can advocate for the issues, hyper-local and national, and take steps to ensure that people realize and know and see that we are working for our constituents and not ourselves. That is how we do the building block, foundational work of strengthening our democracy, strengthening our system, and frankly, strengthening our communities that have been hurting for the past few years.